Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Today I'm going to show you how to take an embroidery file that you can get from Designs by Juju. That's where I got this one, and I'll have it linked for you down below. And the file does not come with the cutting file that you need to cut out these applique pieces with your machine, but I'm going to teach you how to do those or get those in Embrilliance for yourself, whether you're using a scan and cut, a Cricut, or Silhouette. And I've actually cut this with my portrait, my Silhouette portrait. So it's really easy peasy. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing I'm doing, and this is for the mouse, and it's the 6x10 size. I've already cut out my pieces of fabric that I need. The yellow for the moon is 6x6, and I also cut out the light Steam-A-Seam 2, the same size, so I can put that on. So I've done all of these pieces out of the light Steam-A-Seam 2 to go on the backs of these. But the moon was 6x6, the mouse is 5x5, the book is 2x2 approximately, and the clouds are 7x3. And I liberally sprayed them with this stuff called Terial Magic. I love this stuff, love it, love it, love it. It's expensive. I just bought some more. It'll be arriving tomorrow because this bottle's just about empty. But you just spray it on, and then you're supposed to wait according to the instructions, but I don't usually do that. Then I will begin to iron it. And right now you'll notice that this fabric, well, let me show you a piece. Let's see. Oh, I thought I had one right here. Here's one. Okay, here's what this fabric looks like usually. See how flimsy it is? Well, when I do the Steam-A-Seam, or not the Steam-A-Seam, I'm sorry, the Terial Magic, wait till you see what this fabric is like. And this really, really, really helps to make sure that you're going to get a good cut, especially if you're doing it on something like a portrait, which is what I'm doing. And I'm just using my regular blade, the auto blade that came with it. So that's just about done. And now you can tell, look at this. See that? It's not flimsy like it was. It's almost like paper. And if I wanted to, I could even do it some more, another bout of it. So then I'll do this. So I'm just going to press these. And really, it's a fabulous investment if you're going to do a lot of applique or a lot of cutting of fabric on your machine. Just makes a world of difference in my opinion. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and put all of the backing on these. Now, as I said, I'm using light Steam-A-Seam 2, and I know a lot of people use heat and bond, but I just have the Steam-A-Seam 2 and I use it and it works perfectly. I know my friend Rachel absolutely hates it, but I'm not sure why. Okay, it's getting stiffer. I gotta make sure my iron is still hot. Let me put these out here one more time. Give them one more bit of heat. Of course, I'm going to be putting the Steam-A-Seam on the back as well. All right. So here's the Steam-A-Seam, and I really like it because I actually have a big roll of it. It comes with these grids, so the 6x6, it was easy for me to just take my rotary cutter and go around it. And then all you do is you peel off one side, it doesn't matter which. So you're going to keep the side that's sticky, throw this piece away, and you're going to take the sticky side, put it on the back of your fabric, and press it on. And then that will be ready to go onto my mat shortly. Okay, so obviously I will do the same thing with the other pieces. If it hangs over like mine did, because I didn't cut very carefully, I can just trim it off with a pair of scissors. So I'll finish these, the mouse piece, mouse, and the clouds, and I'll meet you back here. Now I'm getting ready to hoop my hoop. It's a 6x10. I'll loosen it just a little bit. Okay. I just have tearaway stabilizer. I have my piece of fabric, which I've already pressed to make sure there aren't any wrinkles in it. And put this in here. So since there's kind of lines on this, I'm trying to make it a little bit square. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, now I'll tighten up this screw right here and we'll be ready to go. Okay, here we are in Embrilliance, and I'm going to get started showing you how to get your cut files. So this is the one that I've already done. So let's open a new one by coming up here to the Open File folder. Say Open. Here's the Design by Juju reading on the moon, and there are color charts, and there are the PES files, because those are what I use for my brother machine. You would be able to download whatever type files you use for your machine. So I'm going to double click on that to open it, and you can see there's a zillion of them, right? Well, I said I wanted to do the mouse, so I'm going to scroll down to the mouse, and I want to do 6 by 10. So it's right here. I'm going to click on it and say open. So there he is, just like that. He's in the hoop. If your hoop isn't visible, remember you can toggle it on and off by hitting the H on your keyboard. So if we look over here now, in the objects panel, you can see all of the objects that make up this design, right? So we're going to start by looking at the first object. When I click on it, it highlights what it is. Okay, and I know what it is already. It's the moon, but I want you to go with the Stitch Simulator for a second and see it's this carmine color, and let's see what it does. Okay, so it's going to stitch the outline of the moon. The second color, which is khaki, is going to be the tack down of the moon, and that goes around twice. So we need this carmine one, and because that is the, remember, it's the placement line. So we want the carmine one. I'm going to click on it, come down here to the color swatch, and when that opens, this is the color they're using, the carmine, and I'm going to say go to the Applique tab right here. Right now it says not applique. I'm going to change that with the drop down arrow, and I'm going to say position, and I'm going to inflate it. I'm going to make mine 1.5 because that seemed to work out really well for mine. 1.5 or 1.6. And then I'm going to save this. So now I'm going to save it. Maybe I should make a new folder. I'll make a new one that says folder D by JJ cut files. Okay, so here it is, the Designs by Juju reading on the moon mouse 6 by 10. I'm going to put a dash and type in the word moon, so I know that's the moon. Now notice it's going to save it as a silhouette file, which would be perfect and is perfect for me because that's what I use. I use my portrait, sometimes my cameo, but my portrait a whole lot more. So I'm going to change it though. I'm going to change it. I could do a shortcuts a lot. I could do this SVG, scan and cut files. And if I do the SVG, that will work in the Cricut. So let's see. I don't have my Cricut connected, so I'm just going to go ahead and say SVG so that we can open it in Cricut anyway. Put it in there. It's all of this, and it's the moon, and I'm saving it as an SVG. Save. Okay, we'll just say okay with this. And we can cancel this or just exit out. So we are already done with the cutting file for the moon, believe it or not. Let's just open up Cricut and I'll show you. Cricut Design Space. Okay, here we are in Cricut Design Space. I'm in a new canvas. I'm going to go to Upload, Upload an Image, Browse. Right here, Cut Files, Designed by Juju. And open that, and there it is. So I'm going to upload it and bring it into my canvas. And now this thing is ready to be cut, just a regular old cut file, okay? So if I go to make it, it's going to work perfectly. Of course, I will have the yellow fabric on here for it to cut. So that's how easy it is to make one for a Cricut machine. Similarly, to make the same thing, and these were all the pieces, to make the same thing for a scan and cut, let's select this carmine one, go to this color again, color swatch, go again to applique, inflate it. Now the inflation here, that's how much larger it's going to be than this actual line right here, so you may have to play with that just a little bit. I would start with doing a little sample, just a little tiny thing to see how it works in your machine with your software. But in general, 1.5 or 1.6 millimeters is what people do. So if I said save now if I wanted to, I could save it as a scan and cut file, an f.fcm file. Okay, and that would save it just like that for me. And I could open it there. Okay, let's continue on. I'm going to X this out. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the back arrow a few times so I can put this back together. Okay, so what we've done so far is we've gotten the cutout file for the moon. Now what's coming up next? So that's the applique position. And I could click on this and call it moon if I wanted to help myself stay organized. So that's the applique position for the moon. And then the khaki, this the tack down, or the material stitch they sometimes say. The next carmine one is what we need, and that is for the mouse. So what do I need to do? Come down here again to these stitches, come here to applique. It says not applique, but we're going to make it applique position. We're going to inflate it by 1.5. I'm going to say save. I could save it as my studio file because that's what I'll be using, but I'll save it as an SVG. Again, we'd be able to open that in Cricut. And this one, I'm going to put a dash at the end and title this mouse. So just so I remember what it is, and just say save. And just ignore this, say okay, and get rid of that. Okay, so we've done the moon, and that's the tack down stitch. And then this was the mouse, so if I want to, I could click on this and then hit space and mouse and enter. And so this next one is the tack down stitch for the mouse. The next carmine is the book. Okay, so I'm going to come down here again to the color swatch, come over here to applique. I'm going to make it applique position, inflate it by 1.5, say save. I want to save it in this file, and I'm going to put a book at the end, and I'm going to save it as an SVG. Okay, and save. Okay, it. All right, so that one was the book. And the last one is, when I click on it, it is the clouds, or they're the clouds. So here again, it's the carmine color. Brother Embroidery Carmine. I'm going to click on that color swatch, come up here to applique. I'll make this the applique position, leave it like that, save it in here. I'm going to save it as a SVG, and I'm going to name it Clouds. And I've already done that, as you can see right here, so I would say save. Okay, let's get rid of this and let's see what we're up to next. Okay, I am totally bummed. I don't know what happened to the recording where I showed you me cutting these. I cut them one by one on here. First I did the moon, and I put the square up here in the upper left hand corner and cut it. So how did I do it? Well, imagine this is my moon piece. Remember, it was a 6x6 square. I peeled it apart so that there was a sticky side, and that's where the Steam Seam 2 is. And then I placed that on my mat, really adhered it well, obviously without the other stuff underneath. Put this in here, and if you look up at my screen, I'll show you the settings I had. You can see the moon up here. So all I did now is I went to send, and of course this would be very similar with your Cricut machine or with your scan and cut. But I went to send. I put mine on fabric thin. Now you'll have to do a test for yours. I don't know how old your blade is. I don't know anything about your machine or your fabric or anything. So do a test cut first. I did test cuts first too. I'm going to cut the edge. Let's click on this, cut edge. And oh, by the way, let's go back to design. In design here now, I did make sure to go here to the page setup, and I turned on the cut border because I wanted to make sure that he was right in the edge but not past the cut border. So then I went to send, and I made my blade depth an 8. I made my force a little bit less than 33 and my speed of 4, and I just hit go. But again, you'll have to test this, but just do remember the right side of the fabric is up. The underside, the sticky side, or the side that has the Steam-A-Seam 2 light, is stuck to your mat. Not real terribly sticky, just a little bit, and it helps to really get a nice cut as well. So let's go back now, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the embroidery machine. Okay, here we are at the embroidery machine, and we're going to be doing step number 1. Step number 1, they say use a carmine color thread. You can use any thread you want to. You don't have to follow that. So what that's going to be, if you'll recall, it's the position stitch, the applique position stitch for the moon. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Okay, when that is done, I'll remove it, but not from the hoop, obviously. And I'm going to put this pre-cut piece right on here, lining it up perfectly. So, and once I have it lined up perfectly, like that, I can bring my iron over and give it a little press to help it stick and stay down while it's being stitched. And I really wouldn't have this up in the air like I just did, except for I'm trying to show you, because that's going to make it get wonky. So now it's going to do the tack down stitch for the moon. Okay, it's going to go around twice. Okay, and we're on step number 3, and if you look right here, you can see the mouse. So this is going to be the placement stitch, so I know where to place my mouse pieces. And the mouse has 3 parts. Okay, this time I'm going to take it out of my frame a little bit, or out of my machine when I iron it or press it, because I do not want to mess things up. So I'm looking again, seeing where my stitch lines are, and making sure that these match up perfectly. Then I'll also take this little piece right here that goes there, and this little circle that goes here. So again, I'm going to put it down here. You may not be able to see, but I want to be very careful not to knock this out of my hoop. Making sure that the lines are matching up well. Looks good. I'll take my iron and just press this down. Okay. Then I can put it back in my machine, and we're on step number 4, and so that's going to be the tack down of the mouse. So first we had the placement stitch that told us where to place our fabric. The next one is the tack down stitch. Okay, we're on step number 5 out of 18. Step number 5 is the placement stitch for the book, and then after that will be the tack down for the book. So do you see how easy this is to not have to trim around all these things, that they're already cut out perfectly? So now it's the placement stitch for the clouds. Okay, now to put the clouds on there exactly where they belong. I put my pressing board behind here, it might help. So the larger one goes down here, lining everything up. Okay. And then the smaller one goes up here. Okay, then I can bring my iron over. And this is the last bit of applique. Then we'll be starting on the satin stitches. But right now, it's the tack down for the clouds. Okay, the next steps are for the satin stitches. So steps number 9 through 18 are all about satin stitches, and I think you can probably follow the directions there. And this video is getting quite long, so I think I'll end it here. I hope you love this technique as much as I do, and that you love making these designs from Design by Juju. But isn't that sweet that we don't have to do all that cutting around these things? Our machines do it perfectly. So thanks for joining me. Hey, if you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up. And I have lots of links down below for you to check out. I appreciate when you use them because it doesn't cost you any extra money and it helps keep Patty Ann's Place going. So thanks again. Bye, y'all.